Now I do want to get into Clemson's Pro Day. Clemson Pro Day, we see Cade Klubnik really show his accuracy in this Pro Day. For me, Cade Klubnik has always been extremely overrated. I did have some belief in him going into last year because I thought Clemson was really pushing in their chips. When we look at the talent they had going into that season, Peter Woods, TJ Parker, Antonio Williams, Cade Klubnik obviously being this highly rated recruit. Again, Cade Klubnik for me, all of his years in college football, never met expectations. This was a guy that was a really super recruit. Never really got Clemson going, in my opinion. But Cade Klubnik, for me, I do think the NFL teams should take a chance on him in later rounds because I don't know if he will ever be a long-term starter in the NFL. I don't think that's a possibility. But I do think his skill set is pretty good for a long-term backup in college football. So I do think, again, he should definitely be a late-round pick. He's shown to be accurate at times, but he is inconsistent. But he is athletic enough to extend plays, and he does have straight line speed to have rushing upside. So his skill set, I do believe, could mirror some starting quarterbacks in the NFL, which could make him a long-term backup in college football. I also want to talk about Clemson's Pro Day, TJ Parker and Peter Woods. I think these guys are extremely underrated. I do think both of them should definitely be top 25 picks, but when we look at these guys coming into the year, they were supposed to be top 10 picks in college football, and I do think the way Clemson's season went kind of made them drop a little bit in the draft. I think Peter Woods is going to be an absolute stud. I think he's going to be a run stopper. I think he's shown that in his years in Clemson. I think he's an elite talent. And like I said, I do think the way Clemson season went in this last year kind of dropped him a little bit. But I do think whatever team ends up with Peter Woods is going to end up with a steal. TJ Parker, kind of a hybrid, could play linebacker and play on the edge. So he could definitely bring some diversity to an NFL defense. I think he's a great pick as well. And then for Antonio Williams, I think Antonio Williams could be a sleeper too. When we look at a guy, I mean, again, he is 6 foot tall. He is able to get separation, able to play inside and outside. I do think he's definitely a stretcher downfield as well. And for Antonio Williams, it was a very weird season. He wasn't able to be there for Clemson in the beginning of the season. And then again, Clemson's season kind of disintegrated very quickly. So again, a lot of these Clemson players, I think outside of Cade Klubnik, could be sleepers for NFL teams. I think a lot of teams are looking off on them just based on how Clemson season went. Now we're getting into USC's Pro Day. First of all, I said it, Jacoby Lane at his size, athletically, I think Jacoby Lane could be a sleeper, 100%. I do think he was able to make spectacular plays, and obviously he was in an offense with Makai Lemon that was the focal point of that offense. But I think a lot of people are overreacting to Makai Lemon and stuff that they should not be overreacting to. When I see Makai Lemon, a lot of people are talking about at his pro day how his running style was awkward and how he only ran a 4.47. But Makai Lemon is very similar to a Jack Smith-Njigba, Emin Amara St. Brown. His route running and his quickness, not his speed in the slot, is really what's going to separate him on the NFL level. He's a guy that's going to be an absolute mismatch in the slot because of this, and he's perfect for the modern day NFL. I don't think anybody should be overreacting that he wasn't the fastest receiver we've ever seen and that his running style is awkward. We saw him be a Biletnikoff winner in college football, and he absolutely dominated for USC. This guy's going to be a home run for whoever drafts him in the modern day NFL just based on his skill set. Like, nobody should be overreacting to his pro day. So I just had that take with Makai Lemon. Now the last thing we're going to talk about as we wrap up this episode is Trinidad Chambliss being denied of this NCAA football cover. This was very interesting to me. I have two kind of separate takes on this. Now, the first thing I do have to say with Trinidad Chambliss and his NCAA cover is very similar to me, and I know I have been receiving hate from you guys on social media. NCAA thinks the same type of thing I do, where the Trinidad Chambliss case is not over. It is ongoing, and there is a slim chance that Trinidad Chambliss doesn't play this season in college football. NCAA told Trinidad Chambliss, EA Sports, they said that they could not fathom the risk of Trinidad Chambliss not playing this year and putting him on the cover. That's what made him lost out on his NCAA football cover because he was a finalist. He was a top 3 finalist, and they basically told him, like, hey, we'd rather go with the guy that's guaranteed to play college football next year when your case is still ongoing. What I think about this is I think, again, if NCAA wanted to go, EA Sports, NCAA, I keep saying NCAA, wanted to go with another player because they're guaranteed to play this season and they want somebody who's going to be playing college football this season, 100% makes sense because like I keep telling you guys, this Trinidad Chambliss case is not over. But I think they could have went with Trinidad Chambliss in the sense of Trinidad Chambliss absolutely tore it up last season. The story is incredible. You're not going to find another story like it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with putting a player from last year on the cover that isn't going to play this year in college football if that were to be the case. Like if NCAA, EA Sports wanted to go with Fernando Mendoza or they wanted to go with Jeremiah Love. Like, I don't think that's a bad decision necessarily, putting somebody who absolutely tore it up last year that isn't going to be in the game as, again, a regular this year. I don't think that's a bad move, but I do think EA Sports definitely is thinking very similar to me in the sense of like, this case is not over. We don't want somebody who's going through a case right now. A little controversial. I get it. Again, who are they going to go with? I don't know. Maybe they go with an Arch Manning, Julian Sain. I know Jeremiah Smith's been on the cover. It's going to be very interesting to see who they go with.